We have another installment of Music, Movies, and Hoops interviews. We're trying to grow this brand. If you're enjoying the content we're making, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That would be so appreciated. I'm so excited. I have a dear friend with me today from LA, multi-instrumentalist, songwriter, producer, arranger, half of Feed the Biirds. I believe the musical director for Watsky, Mr. Kush Mody. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. As good as 2020 lets us be these days.
So for everybody, Kush is an old friend. We have been collaborating on music and other hijinks for 15 years, probably. I really want him to be a big part of the site. We have a lot of ideas that we're going to get into later. But today I just wanted to introduce him as a character in this space. You guys get to know him, and I think we'll be seeing a lot of him. Kush, I wanted to start positively, man. Tell us about something cool and positive that you've done in these last 6 months here that you would not have done if it hadn't have been for this terrible year.
I have just the answer for that question.
Great. Okay, great.
I did a song a day type thing. In quotes, because it wasn't really full songs. It was like more of an idea a day. Basically, I held myself to come down in the studio and just put something down on record. I came up with a lot of trash, but also a lot of good stuff too. So, and you never know when the trash will come in handy sometime. It's like, oh, I actually do have an idea that fits this situation,
Right.
I highly recommend it to anybody who's stuck and has that time. Like, if you have the time and you're motivated, but you just don't know what to do, just try doing like a regimented thing. It's great. And at first I hated it. The first week was really, really hard to come up with anything, and by the last week it was like full songs, like full arrangements.
Yeah, it makes me think about a couple things, Kush. Number one, I think something that's very similar about the two of us is we gravitate where the mojo is, where the vibe is. If somebody says, hey, I got a cool project, we're going to finish this next week, we're going to do a commercial for this, that, and other thing, can you rally for this? Both of us want to be like, yeah, let's rally. Let's do this. Or if we release a song and it's our most popular song on Spotify, we look at that and say, let's make more music like that. And I think what's been hard over COVID is there isn't a lot of channels.
They're all shut down.
Yeah, the river's dried up. I think creating this plan and kind of making yourself do this has been really important. So tell us a little bit about this July journey. So you get a coffee, or you not drink coffee, right?
I don't drink coffee, and yeah, I know it's weird. I drink a lot of green tea. That's like my daily morning thing. It's like 2 eggs, some greens, and a smoothie after a workout.
And ham?
I've been cutting back on meat. Anyway, that's a whole other thing.
I was just joking about the Dr. Seuss.
God,
I can't believe you missed that.
That was just way over.
So let's talk a little about your process. You have your green eggs, sans ham. You got your green tea. You're feeling good. You come down to the space. What happens? Are you just walking towards an instrument? Are you hearing a melody? What was the journey like?
It's totally different every time. Yeah, it's like it's kind of random. Honestly, it's like every time it's different. Sometimes I'll sit down at a piano and whatever, something just pops out. Sometimes it'll just be like, one thing that helps me a lot, and I think I highly recommend to other people, I give this advice a lot, is imitation. Just like pick a thing, pick a sound, pick a song you like, and just like copy it. Some of my ideas came from that kind of process of just like, people are afraid of like, oh, I don't want to copy anybody. I want to be my own thing. I want to be me. You're gonna be you. You can't not be you. You know what I mean? Like that.
I couldn't agree more.
it's gonna.
Totally.
Don't worry about that.
Kush, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. I'm so with this. So I recently was asked to make like do like a songwriting workshop. I shared 7 strategies that I use to songwrite, and one of them is exactly what you said. I have literally written some of my best songs by finding a song I like, playing along. Maybe I don't even know all the chords. I just kind of have a feel for it. I'm kind of chucking on guitar. As soon as that song ends, just keep going.
Yeah,
Just keep
yeah,
going.
yeah.
Even if the first thing you sing is literally that song, if you keep going, 40 seconds later, you'll be doing something different.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great technique. And I've definitely done that before where like, I'm just like vibing to a track
Yes.
and then you just turn it off and then you just see where it goes. You just keep riding that wave and riding that energy.
Totally. I think this is such an important conversation. The other thing about this is like breaking out of your sensibilities. I think that we all gravitate towards certain sounds. I love going to the 4 chord on the chorus. I love going to the melody starting on the 3rd. And that's, if you can, sometimes I feel like I need sometimes what I'm gravitating towards is finding a song that I know I never would have written.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't have come out of me naturally. And if I can be listening to it and hearing it, it's like I want to suck a little. It's like a Dementor.
Yes.
It's like, can I suck a little of the essence of this song and get some of that flavor and put it in me and have it come out in a way that wouldn't actually come out of me otherwise?
Film scoring is a big source of that Dementor suckling activity for me.
Okay.
In the sense that I get hired to write music that I would never have elected to, and by my own volition. That I think that's one of the biggest appeals for me of that job. It's just like kind of being forced to learn all sorts of different techniques and like listen to all sorts of different music and then assimilate all of that into something that feels genuine and true to me. If I can go on a quick tangent, I have
Please.
this like avant-garde triangle theory. Have I ever told you this?
No, this is fantastic.
Okay. So basically imagine a triangle that's like moving forward, right? And you can think of it, it's like plowing through a field of ideas, right? And so ahead are just unexplored, an infinite field of just ideas. And at the tip of the triangle are like the avant-garde people who are at the cutting edge, and they're like looking out for like new shit. And those ideas, the ones that stick, they trickle down to a broader base of the triangle. And at the bottom of the triangle is just like the lowest common denominator, where like at one point it was a new idea, but the triangle has moved up.
Now
and
it's
now
bringing
it's
up
just
the
a
rear.
cliche. Now it's bringing up the rear, and it's like, dude, where have you been? This has been a thing for 50 years. But at one point it was new. At one point, it was a new technique. Like I think about the Beatles all the time. It's like there's so many things that are just like, yeah, it's cliche, but like, yeah, but the Beatles in the studio, they invented that technique. And out of experiment, and they were weird when they did that. That was like, what the hell? This is crazy shit. This sounds backwards tape loops. Oh my god! And now it's like, yeah, no, you could, with the click of the button, you can do that. I would say I'm somewhere in the middle of the triangle, where I'm like maybe upper middle, where I'm like, I like new, weird, interesting shit, but not too weird. Does that analogy scan? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can't believe you've never said this before. I love this. It's like a flock of geese. It's like the person in front is taking the brunt of the wind, but they're kind of pressing it forward, and then the geese behind are like, okay, I'll soak that in. This ain't so bad.
It's not very challenging in the back. You know what I mean? It's just like, cool. This is tried and true. This is like, I know where we're going. But at the front, we're like, I have no idea where the fuck we're going. This is weird, but here we are.
Let me ask you this. I think you're a great person to ask this. Where are we going? I hate to say it, and you know, I'm not as plugged in as I want to be with new music, but from what I'm getting, I feel like there's less new music I like each year, and that's maybe that's more about me. I'm into Billie Eilish. I think she's doing some really cool stuff. I like her new single. I like that Taylor Swift went indie folk. I'm an indie folk musician, but dude, over the next 10 years, what do you think are going to be some of the trends or kind of sonic directions that popular music is going to go in?
I mean, electronic elements and mixing with organic elements is just, I think, here to stay. Like, you know, especially with 808s and drums and hi-hats, you know, like,
Yes.
I'm genuinely surprised by how much staying power, trap, whatever, call it, 808 hi-hat, like that kind of, that's become such a backbone. I mean, you know, it could be that kind of drum sound in pop music has as much staying power as the drum kit itself. Had a very clear beginning along with like rock music, you know what I mean? Like, and by the 50s, took the form that we know today, you know, with boom, pa, you know, just like that backbeat 4/4 thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's such a like, we take it for granted type of thing.
Mhm.
Like, it's just in the DNA of pop rock music, right? And it has been for years. And so I think we can kind of look at, you know, the drum machine, the 808, in the hip hop world, kind of the same way, where it's just that's just
It's here to stay.
It's just a standard element. It's like, you know, in the rock band, you have drums, bass, guitar, keys, vocals, like the standard starting five or whatever. And now now drum machine, you know, and you know, when people criticize of like, it's just the same beat, like, you know, the same like, you know, and like booms, booms, the boom, boom, you know, like it's all the, you know, it's all the same beat. Well,
Yes, yes.
what has rock music been doing for 50 years? Touch, you know, like that's all the same beat, you know, or like, yeah, maybe I mean, how many
Give me a
songs have you
surf
heard?
beat, baby.
Right, whole genres are centered around whole instruments. Like, if I start playing a funky clavinet, oh, that's funk. It's like Stevie Wonder, whatever. You know what I mean? Or if I'm
Yeah.
like, you know, playing like a epic, like distorted chord on the B3, it's like, oh yeah, it's like Steppenwolf, you know,
Yeah.
like classic rock, you know,
Yeah.
or like, you know, if I'm playing like a bright DX7 piano sound, it's like, oh, 80s, you know, 80s pop, you know. And I just feel like, you know, you had these new sounds that were defining these genres.
I think what's kind of defined this era is crossover. That was the big, that I feel like what's been happening recently is like, let's blend genres to make them feel new. And it feel like it culminated with, I'm gonna take my horse to the old town road, you know, the hip hop country thing. But that's been happening now for 20 years. And I don't know how much more we can, you know, everything is just kind of, it's kind of like the American melting pot, like pop and country and hip hop and EDM are kind of all become one mixed bag of genre, which is cool and has yielded some cool things. But I kind of feel like that's happened. One thing that's just coming off the top of my head is at some point I wonder if the innovation becomes around form. You know, one thing that's kind of been unchanged through all these different eras is verse, chorus, verse, chorus. And I fucking love a chorus. So I'm not necessarily leading the charge on this, but at a certain point, if we can't come up with...
You're not at the tip of the triangle. You're down here.
I have like a beer at the end, and I'm like, what's coming down the pike on the what's new? What's old? You know, I'm hanging out and just like with like acoustic guitar. But so two-part question. One, do you think that at some point we'll make form could be the next innovation, trying different different things there? And B, if not, what's another thing that you could see being the innovation?
I will say that whatever does happen will be dictated by the medium that we consume with. You know what I mean? Like whether it's our phones or something else, or the file format or the streaming platform, you know, all of these things in subtle and non-subtle ways have like changed how like music was created.
So I think you're doing what all of us are doing and releasing singles. You are half of the band Feed the Biirds.
Yep.
Big part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful project. I'm a big fan. We'll post a link to your music when we release this. I think what you're doing, and correct me if I'm wrong to start, but I think what you're doing is you're making singles and you're making music that's going to pop on Spotify.
Yeah, pretty much. that seems to be the standard
That's what I'm doing.
model. Yes, yeah, that seems to be the standard model these days. I'm such an albums guy. Like, I love a whole body of work, but like, you know, the way, you know, that's just out the window as far as like, you know, a commercial endeavor. Although you can make an argument for like EPs. I see a lot of EPs happening, like three to five songs. Yeah, 3 to 5 songs.
So you just talked about, and I think it was very adept and accurate, that in the future, what is going to help dictate innovation in the direction that the music industry goes is responding to the medium that's popular at that time. I think that's on point. My question is, now the medium that's popular is Spotify. Tell me about how your process has changed as you've kind of done what you're saying the future of music will do, but currently in real time.
Honestly, man, we're doing this dance of like trying not to care about any of that.
Okay.
And then caring a whole lot. You know what I mean? Like it's like we're just going back and forth between like let's just fucking make songs. You know, let's just make the songs that we want to make, and then organize it later. You know what I mean? Let's just create it and then see what we made, and then we'll deal with the categorization and the strategy and all of that. You know, I don't know if we're actively thinking about that stuff while we're writing and recording and mixing and all that, but we're definitely thinking about it after the fact when we're trying to figure out, okay, release strategy and timing and all of that. I'll say this. I have one more weird metaphor for you.
I hope you have a few more.
Save them for later. I've had this metaphor for a while. Think of a cocktail party or like a dinner party, you know, where there's like, you know, a main table where there's people eating and drinking. Maybe there's like people milling about, and I just kind of think of things as like an exchange, like these volleys of like information or like volleys of like conversation. And you know, I'll think a lot about like sitting with a group of people. You know, there's often, you know, someone who's kind of demanding most of your attention, like most of the group's attention. They're kind of like really charismatic, and they're saying a bunch of stuff, and everyone's just like soaking all of that in. You know what I mean? They're just taking it all in. And if you want to get a word in, it's all timing. If you can catch such a moment where you can kind of get everyone's attention, and then like, oh, now you're participating in that conversation now, you know? You know, I think of it like when you put music out, it's kind of like that, where you need to be cognizant of like what is going on. We can't forget that all art is communication. So like if you're good at conversation, then, you know, you should be good at expressing yourself through art as well. Or if you can take the principle of, you know, listening and offering relevant information, you know, based on what's happening, and apply it to your art and your expression, I think you have a higher chance of commercial success.
I think what I'm hearing from you is like, if you go to a panel on oceans and you are coming there pocketing some dope fact on the Indian Ocean, right? And there's a pause and you throw out something really cool, that could get you somewhere. If you have your one chance and you spit out some facts on the Sahara Desert, everyone's gonna be like, dude, this isn't the desert panel. No one is gonna turn and care about what you care about just because you care about it.
You know, Rolling Stones song was released today, it would just be like, dude, this isn't, yeah, it's a great song, but like, what makes those songs great isn't just inherently that combination of words and music. What makes them great is the timing of and the context of when they were created and when they were released. The end of the movie, watch the climactic scene of a movie and expect to be in tears. You need the 2 hours leading up to it. You just need it.
So Kush, we're talking a lot in metaphor, which I love. I love a good metaphor. I wonder if we can kind of get our boots on the ground and kind of like fit this into advice or kind of something to take away from this. Tell me if this sounds right. Kind of what I'm hearing is like, you listen to Beyonce's album, right? You get a sense of where she's at now. Then you spend the next year listening to all the music that's happening in that year. Then you kind of, in your mind, put together, I got Beyonce's last album, I got the sounds and the trends that are current, I'm going to write a song that I think is going to be like what Beyonce's next album is going to be like. And then on the day she puts her shit out, I'm going to put my shit out and say, hey, if you like Beyonce's record, my stuff is right on point with this. Is that kind of distilling the message you're saying in the metaphor, or would you shape it in a different way?
No, yeah. I mean, I think that's a very practical way of going about it, for sure.
It's the age-old jazz principle of when the horn player plays the line and the piano player is trying to respond to it, call and response, don't play the exact same line back.
Yes, absolutely.
And to that person who argues, A, I was listening and I was engaged, I wasn't out to lunch, I was actually connected, and B, I'm using my talent to be able to pick out that line. My response is, if I say, hey, how are you, can't respond with, hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Right? So I totally agree. And I think that we all feel like music grows by little steps. It's like it's not like you make this record and the next record's this. You make this record, the next record's this. I think about this all the time. There's an article about how Jack White was furious with the Black Keys for stealing his sound, and how they're copycats and they took his idea and he should get all the credit. Jack White, you stole your entire sound from African American people.
Oh my God, yeah.
Everything.
I think about.
I don't want to hear you talking about stealing.
Yeah. Right.
That is not what I want to hear out of your mouth. You're super talented. I'm a huge fan, but I don't want to hear that shit out of you. So, it's okay that he did that. If his thing is, hey, if you like my music, go check out Buddy Guy. Go check out Muddy Waters. Go check out Howlin' Wolf. Dude, we've been dancing around influences and where things are at. I wonder if I can kind of put your feet to the fire and you could share for the people listening, who are you being influenced by right now? Who are you being inspired by?
I'm going to bypass with the classics, because like obviously, the Beatles and blah blah blah, all the classic, records, Radiohead, Beck, and even like UMO and Tame Impala and all, to me those are like kind of a given. But in terms of like new like 2020, 2019 shit, not a whole lot, sadly. I would say the one album that I keep putting on,
cool,
that was released this year is Circles by Mac Miller.
Okay, cool.
And it was produced by John Bryan, and I'm a huge John Bryan fan. And it's so good. I liked it immediately, but I've only liked it more.
Hey guys, stay tuned. Part 2 with Kush comes out tomorrow.